This week's video and vlog is going to be more centered around mental health and how I take care of my mental health the best that I can. I deal with seasonal affective disorder, and a lot of people do to a certain extent. For me, it can be quite debilitating mentally, physically. I just have a lot of trouble with the season changes, and this year, it feels like the season change is a little late. I usually start feeling symptoms in September, which I did, and then it kind of went away for a bit, and now it's starting to hit me pretty hard. So I thought that I would kind of just talk about how I take care of myself to the best of my own abilities. Some days are really great and some weeks are really great, and then some days and weeks are really low, and this was kind of a low week for me personally. Yesterday I worked a 12 and I actually cried at work, which I really never do, but I just had a difficult time with a patient, and I was so frustrated that I just started crying once I left the room, because that's how I respond a lot of the times. That's how I react, is with crying. Like, I could be angry and I'll cry. So I just needed to decompress a bit. And yeah, as much as laying in bed is sometimes the only thing that I can really do, I really try to push myself to do things that I know will overall make my life a little easier, even if in the moment it feels really difficult. So things like doing my laundry, taking a shower, basic tasks that a lot of us take for granted on a daily basis are really hard when you're depressed. So on the days that I'm feeling higher energy, I get those things done to make room for those days where I really just can't get out of bed. That said, I'm also really thankful to have a really good support system. My family is so supportive, even though they're in California. I haven't seen my family in a year, actually, and that has been weighing on my heart a lot lately, because I miss them so much, and I was going to see them in April, but I haven't been able to. So with the holiday seasons coming up, it can be really hard for people who deal with mental health and mental illness. But I just take it one day at a time. for me personally, my faith has been a foundation for my recovery from my eating disorder, as well as coping with my mental illness. So yeah, anyway, I don't want to talk too much. This week I do work tonight for 4 hours. It's only what we call a princess shift. And then I work Tuesday, Wednesday as well. So I will probably be vlogging those days. But yeah, this place is crazy today. Hey guys, happy Tuesday. It is the next day. I worked last night. I ended up leaving at midnight because it was so busy. I had an admission plus a post-procedure patient. She was on the hourly checks for a cath. And then I had another patient who came back from the OR and PACU after a hernia repair. So it was very busy. No aides. We call them patient care assistants. So I had to do all my own vitals, all my own blood sugars. I had to toilet all my own patients, and it was crazy. Probably the busiest 4-hour shift I've worked in a while, hence why I left at 12. But I came home, I ate a good dinner, I slept, and right now I'm just enjoying coffee in my coffee because adulting is hard mug. It is literally the size of my face. But yeah, so right now I'm just doing some editing. I already did my quiet time and journaled a bit. It's only 2:30 right now. I woke up pretty early. So I'm probably gonna go to the gym at some point, and if the rain clears up, I think I wanna go on a walk. But today is another example of one of those days where I'm feeling much more, high energy, and I'm feeling a little better. Definitely helps that my period is ending soon. So with the rise in hormones, I just feel overall better. So right now I'm just going to finish editing and then I'll probably head to the gym. To end off this video by talking a little bit more in depth about mental health, whether or not you're a nurse. I have had an eating disorder. I dealt with it on and off for about 10 years, but my journey of recovery has been full of a lot of grace and joy and struggle, yes, but mostly endurance and support from everybody in my life. I'm really thankful to be in a place where I'm balanced, where I have a healthy relationship with my body and with food, where I have a healthy relationship with exercise as well. In the past, I think I was not in as good of a place or mindset as I thought I was, or as I portrayed. And in retrospect, speaking from the place that I'm in now, I still wasn't ready yet to say that I was recovered. And honestly, maybe there is no such thing as being like recovered, but it was one of those things where because I was stressed, a lot of disordered habits were easily triggered. Whereas now, like food and restriction and exercise, like those things aren't affected by my stress so much anymore. And that's a good thing, I think. I think that's a sign of progress for me, especially in the past few years. So I'm really proud of myself for that. I also have pretty severe seasonal affective disorder, and I deal with really bad PMS. And so those things combined can be horrible. The past couple weeks, I was having very bad PMS symptoms. I had bad mood swings, and I was really depressed. I was anxious, and I was crying all the time. And with the seasons changing, it has made it 10 times harder to cope with that. But, you know, since I've dealt with this for a number of years, I kind of learned what works for me and what doesn't. Things that work for me are going outside, even for just a walk, and feeling the sun on my face. It sounds so cheesy, but that truly has made such a difference. And, you know, there are days where I don't get to go outside, but for the most part, I do try to at least walk for 10-15 minutes, even if it's just walking rocky outside. Something else that has been really important is eating a balanced diet, but not stressing out about it. I eat plenty of processed foods, and in the past, that used to be something that would trigger me, but you know, now it just, I eat what I want to eat. And even if I don't have an appetite, I have myself eat something that I know will at least give me some sort of fuel, because the worst thing to do for your body is to just completely skip all your meals and rely on caffeine. That's what I did a lot in college, and no wonder I didn't have an appetite. Caffeine is a big appetite suppressant. So now I make sure that I always have food prepped ahead for when I'm at work, because especially on a busy night at work, it's very tempting to skip my meals. But you know, I need that to get me going through my 12-hour shift. So eating a balanced diet and making sure I go grocery shopping, that has really helped me. And even getting foods that, like, even if I have to microwave, that's better than ordering takeout or skipping a meal altogether, you know? Another thing that I incorporate, obviously, is physical activity. That is so important for me personally. It is a big stress reliever. I think because in nursing especially, you're constantly thinking about the next thing and you're constantly multitasking. Working out is something that, yes, it does require thinking, but it's almost kind of like a mindless thinking. Like, all I have to think about is pushing on to the next workout or pushing on to heavier weights. And so it allows me to just really physically release a lot of stress and tension that I build up throughout the week from working and just from life in general. I obviously will cut back working out and running on the weeks that I need to, especially if I've been feeling depressed. But overall, I do make sure to do it at least 3 to 4 times a week, because I know that ultimately it will benefit my mental health and it'll make me feel a lot better. Even if the only thing I accomplished that day was a workout. And obviously some days I can't even get out of bed. And when that happens, I also show myself grace. You can't always be expecting yourself to be 100%. You'll just burn yourself out. And that actually happened to me when I first started nursing. Is I thought I had to be on my A game all the time. I thought I had to show up bubbly at work all the time. And, you know, my natural personality does kind of exude a positivity and a happiness, but listen, some days you just gotta lie in bed and not talk to anyone, and that's okay. Just make sure you communicate that you're not ignoring your friends, you're not ignoring your significant other, you just need some space to be alone. Journaling and my faith are both intertwined, obviously, and I have not always been consistent with talking to God and really spending time with Jesus, but throughout my whole life in general, leaning on God has really allowed me to let go of the burdens that I put on myself, the expectations to be strong, the expectations to be healthy all the time and to be happy all the time. I used to let the depression control me, and I don't mean that depression is in your control, because it's not. But I always thought, you know, this is how my life is always going to be. I'm always going to be this depressed. And, you know, that's not necessarily the case. I think seasons change, and in the same way our lives change. We ebb and flow, and some seasons are filled with more depression and some are filled with less. And so that has made me much more grateful for the seasons where I have more good days than bad days. And that has allowed me to also appreciate the seasons where I have more bad days than good days, because I know that it's not permanent. I know it's all just temporary, and that if I can just get through that next day or week, you know, it'll get better. Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better, but that's okay, because I have been able to experience the good times and the joyful times. And so I don't know if any of that made sense. I'm just rambling at this point. But yes, and lastly, just a couple tidbits. Please go talk to a therapist or counselor if you are struggling with your mental health. Obviously, being able to talk to family and friends is really important, but I think that there comes a point in everyone's mental health journey or life where you just need a professional to be able to talk to and who may be able to point you in other directions that people in your personal life might not be able to. I also highly recommend taking time for yourself, but not isolating yourself. I think self-isolation, especially in this COVID time, can be super easy, but make sure you get your social interaction in, whether it's a Zoom call or whether it's a socially distanced wine night with your friends. As cheesy as that sounds, humans are meant to be together and to be in community, and so completely isolating yourself is just going to hurt you. And finally, this is just a nursing specific tip. Don't be afraid to grieve, whether it's a patient death, whether it's a patient illness, or whether it's just the stress of dealing with such sick people. Don't be afraid to grieve and to let people in. I know it can be really hard, and it can feel like nobody else feels the way that you do, but I promise you, everyone is dealing and coping with the emotional stress and burdens of being a nurse, whether or not they show it on the outside. So please know that you're not alone. I personally love to follow Nurse Life RN and other nursing meme pages because a lot of them do talk about things like grief and mourning and really sad things, and it makes you feel less alone. So anyway, thank you so much guys for watching this week's video. I hope that you are all doing well, taking care of yourselves, taking care of your health, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye.